The unseen strings. Are you living as a victim? Have you ever felt like life just happens to you? Like you're a ship tossed on stormy seas, with no control over the waves or the wind? Perhaps you find yourself constantly battling misfortune, dealing with unfair situations, or feeling that the world is somehow rigged against you. Maybe bad things keep happening, and you repeatedly wonder, why me? This feeling of being unfairly targeted, of being persistently powerless, is an incredibly heavy weight to carry. It's a burden that can color your every interaction, your every ambition, your every quiet moment. Many people feel this way, often in silence, sometimes without even having a name for it. This pervasive feeling has a name in depth psychology, particularly in the work of the pioneering Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. We call it the victim archetype. Today, we're going to explore this powerful concept through Jung's lens. Jung, who founded analytical psychology, believed that understanding these deep-seated universal patterns or archetypes is absolutely fundamental to unlocking a fuller, more authentic, and more consciously directed life. If these questions, these feelings of being adrift or unfairly besieged, resonate with you even a little, you are in the right place. We're not just going to dissect the problem. More importantly, we will explore tangible ways to rediscover your inherent power, to reclaim your agency, and metaphorically, to take back the steering wheel of your own life. But what if those strings that seem to pull you are not entirely external? What if some of the most potent ones originate deep within your own mind, from a place Jung called the collective unconscious? Carl Jung dedicated his life to exploring these profound, underlying patterns of human thought, emotion, and behavior. He termed them archetypes. Think of archetypes as ancient, universal blueprints for human experience. They are primordial images, characters, and motifs that have been part of human storytelling, mythology, and psychic experience since time immemorial. These archetypes, like the hero, the sage, the mother, the trickster, reside in this collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human memories, instincts, and experiences inherited by all of us. The victim archetype is one such powerful, often unconsciously operating pattern. It's crucial to understand that this isn't primarily about the objective reality of being victimized by external events, though such tragic events certainly occur and can predispose someone to this archetype. Rather, the victim archetype, in Jungian terms, refers to an inner psychic state, a deeply ingrained way of perceiving the world, your circumstances, and most critically, your place within it all. Someone deeply identified with this archetype often feels persistently persecuted, believing that life is inherently and consistently unfair, specifically to them. They might harbor a deep-seated conviction that they don't deserve good things, that happiness is for others, not for them. There's often a painful tendency to compare themselves to others, who invariably seem to have it better, to be luckier, to be blessed in ways they are not. Does any of this internal monologue sound uncomfortably familiar? Reflect for a moment. Think about a time, or perhaps an ongoing area of your life, where you felt completely powerless. A situation where you believed you had no real say, no meaningful control over the outcome. How did that sensation feel in your body? Was it a knot in your stomach, a heaviness in your chest, a sense of fatigue? What were the predominant thoughts that raced through your mind? It's not fair. There's nothing I can do. This always happens to me. Recognizing these deeply ingrained psychophysiological responses is the critical first step. It's akin to noticing the first subtle crack in a dam. You can only begin to address the structural integrity once you acknowledge its presence. The victim archetype isn't just about fleeting moments of sadness or frustration. For some, it can evolve into a core component of their identity, a narrative that defines them. They might frequently utter phrases like, "I'm just an unlucky person," or "It figures bad things always happen to me." It's important to stress, this isn't a judgment cast upon anyone. It is an observation of a powerful, self-perpetuating psychological pattern. A pattern that, if unexamined, can keep you tethered to cycles of suffering and disempowerment. As Jung so profoundly stated, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is an immensely powerful and liberating idea. It means that these unseen, unacknowledged patterns operating from the depths of our psyche can, and often do, run our lives. They script our reactions, attract certain experiences, and shape our destiny, all while we remain convinced that these are purely external forces at play. If we don't bring them into the light of awareness, we are, in a sense, living out an unwritten script. Paradoxically, this archetype can offer a strange, almost perverse kind of comfort. It provides a known script. The world, though hostile, is predictable in its unfairness. It can feel strangely familiar, a known identity. Being the one who suffers can even elicit attention, sympathy, or care from others, fulfilling certain relational needs, albeit in a dysfunctional way. But this comfort, this predictability, comes at an exorbitant price. The price is your own innate power, your capacity to effect meaningful change in your life, your fundamental freedom to choose your path, to write your own story. So, the question becomes, are you ready to consider a different way of being? Are you prepared to step out of this pervasive shadow, to examine its contours, and to begin the journey of reclaiming your authentic self, your inherent strength? It's a path that requires courage, but it leads to a life lived with greater intention and deeper fulfillment. Part 2. The Shadow of Victimhood. Recognizing the patterns. How do you actually know if the victim archetype is subtly, or perhaps overtly, influencing your life's narrative? It's often cunningly disguised, like a whisper in the back of your mind, or a lens through which you view everything without realizing you're wearing it. Let's dedicate some time now to shining a bright light on some of the most common signs and manifestations of this archetype. One of the most prominent signs is a persistent, almost reflexive sense of blame. When something goes wrong, a project fails, a relationship sours, an opportunity is missed, what is your immediate gut-level instinct? Is it to search for an external cause, an external scapegoat? It's their fault for not supporting me. The system is inherently rigged against people like me. If only that specific event hadn't happened, everything would be different. While it's true that external factors and the actions of others play a role in our lives, the victim pattern consistently and almost exclusively looks outside for the source of its misfortune. It rarely, if ever, turns inward to consider its own role, its own contribution, or crucially, its own power to respond differently. Another telltale sign is a pervasive feeling of a lack of agency, a sense of profound powerlessness. This isn't just about feeling helpless in a specific, overwhelming crisis. It's a more generalized belief that you can't genuinely influence or change your core circumstances. Life feels like something you have to passively endure, a series of unfortunate events to be weathered, rather than something you can actively co-create or shape. Major decisions feel paralyzing, and minor choices can seem fraught with potential disaster. You might find yourself frequently waiting for someone else to solve your problems, waiting for circumstances to magically improve, waiting to be rescued from your plight. Now, pay close attention to your internal dialogue, that constant stream of self-talk that provides the soundtrack to your life. Is it predominantly negative, critical, and disempowering? Is it saturated with phrases like, "I can't do this," "I'm not good enough, smart enough, strong enough," or "It's no use trying, I'll only fail anyway"? This chronic negative self-talk is both a symptom and a reinforcing mechanism of the victim narrative. It relentlessly chips away at your self-esteem, validates your feelings of inadequacy, and makes the overarching sense of powerlessness feel even more concrete and insurmountable. Think of it as a constant, dripping tap, slowly eroding the foundations of your confidence. Jealousy, envy, and resentment can also be potent signals. If you frequently find yourself feeling bitter, covetous, or resentful about other people's successes, happiness, or good fortune, perhaps even secretly feeling they don't truly deserve what they have, this can be a subtle indicator. The victim archetype often operates from a place of perceived lack and injustice. It habitually makes comparisons, measuring its own meager portion against the seemingly abundant feasts of others. It often views life as a zero-sum game, where another person's gain is, by definition, your loss, deepening the sense of being perpetually shortchanged. Do you find yourself frequently entangled in what Stephen Cartman famously termed the drama triangle? This is a powerful psychosocial model describing a common, dysfunctional pattern of interaction involving three distinct roles: the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. Someone unconsciously identified with the victim archetype naturally, and often predictably, draws into their orbit individuals or situations that seem to confirm their victimhood, persecutors. Simultaneously, they also attract well-meaning, or sometimes not so well-meaning, rescuers, people who want to save them, fix their problems, or take care of them. This creates a compelling, often highly charged, cyclical dynamic. The victim feels helpless and seeks a rescuer. The rescuer feels needed and validated by helping. The persecutor, who might be a person, a system, an illness, or even an internalized critical voice, provides the problem that keeps the triangle spinning. Importantly, participants can switch roles. The victim, tired of being helpless, might lash out and become a persecutor. The rescuer, frustrated that their efforts aren't fixing the victim, might become exasperated and also turn into a persecutor, or feel victimized themselves. After all I've done. This dynamic can be incredibly difficult to break because each role, in a way, gets certain psychological needs met, however unhealthily. Take a moment for honest self-reflection. Where in your life do you feel most consistently powerless? Is it predominantly in your intimate relationships, where you feel unheard or undervalued? Is it at work, where you feel overlooked or exploited? Is it concerning your physical or mental health, where you feel at the mercy of symptoms or diagnoses? Or is it most acutely in your own mind, in the battle against your own thoughts and fears? Identifying these specific domains where the victim narrative is most active is absolutely crucial. It's like finding the X that marks the spot on a treasure map. Except, in this case, the treasure isn't buried gold, but your own liberation and reclaimed strength. Carl Jung possessed a profound understanding of this interplay between inner and outer reality. He believed that whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. This is a challenging, yet incredibly insightful concept. If we consistently reject, disown, or repress our own innate strength, our capacity for responsibility, our ability to assert ourselves, or our power to make conscious choices, then we might unconsciously project these disowned parts outward. We then experience the external world as a place that consistently victimizes us, that imposes powerlessness upon us. The outside world can thus become a deeply uncomfortable, yet potentially revelatory, mirror of our own inner state of being. Recognizing these patterns, the blame, the powerlessness, the negative self-talk, the envy, the drama triangle, the mirrored external world, is not about inducing self-blame or shame. That would simply be another manifestation of the victim pattern. Instead, it's about cultivating profound self-awareness, radical honesty, and compassionate curiosity. This clear seeing, this courageous acknowledgement, is the essential and non-negotiable starting point of any genuine journey towards empowerment and wholeness. Part 3. The Call to Courage. Embracing your inner strength. Host. Recognizing the tendrils of the victim archetype in your life is, without doubt, a significant and brave first step. It takes courage to look at these deeply ingrained patterns. Now comes the equally courageous work of consciously choosing to break free. This is a journey that demands stepping into the unknown, embracing discomfort, and proactively claiming parts of yourself that you may have long forgotten, suppressed, or even denied. The very first, and perhaps most pivotal, act of courage is to wholeheartedly embrace personal responsibility. Now, this is a concept often misunderstood. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for every misfortune that has ever befallen you, nor does it mean denying the reality of external challenges or injustices. What it does mean is taking full ownership of your responses, your choices, your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, attitudes, and actions, in the face of whatever life presents. When you consciously shift your internal locus of control from "this is happening to me" to "this has happened, and now I choose how to respond, what meaning to make, and what action to take," something profoundly powerful shifts within your psyche. You move from a passive, reactive position to an active, creative one. This is where true agency begins. Carl Jung spoke extensively about the critical importance of integrating the shadow. The shadow, in Jungian terms, contains all the parts of ourselves that we have disowned, repressed, or deemed unacceptable, often due to societal conditioning, family upbringing, or personal experiences. For someone deeply entrenched in a victim archetype, the shadow might ironically hold their greatest strengths, their assertiveness, their healthy anger, their capacity for boundaries, their personal power, their ambition. Yes, even anger, an emotion often pathologized or feared, can be a potent source of constructive power when it is understood, acknowledged, and channeled correctly, rather than repressed or destructively expressed. Healthy anger can signal that a boundary has been violated, that an injustice has occurred, that action is needed. It can fuel the authentic desire for change and provide the energy to pursue it. Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This profound statement underscores that true psychological and spiritual growth comes not from bypassing or denying the difficult parts of ourselves, but by courageously facing, understanding, and integrating these uncomfortable, shadowy aspects into a more complete whole. A key practical step on this path of courage is to meticulously identify and then systematically challenge your limiting beliefs. Those deeply ingrained "I can't" statements, those pervasive feelings of "I'm not good enough, worthy enough, capable enough." Where did these beliefs truly originate? Are they unequivocally, objectively true? Or are they old, unexamined messages that you absorbed from your environment, your past experiences, or significant figures in your early life? Begin to treat these beliefs not as absolute truths, but as hypotheses to be tested. Actively seek out and collect evidence that contradicts them. When your mind says, "I always fail," deliberately recall times you succeeded, however small. You might genuinely surprise yourself with the resilience and capability you uncover. This transformative process also involves a conscious and consistent shifting of your focus. It's about redirecting your mental and emotional energy from what you perceive yourself to lack, to what you actually possess, from what's persistently wrong with the world or your life, to what you can actively and meaningfully contribute. It means intentionally cultivating gratitude, not as a Pollyanna-ish denial of real problems or suffering, but as a potent practice for building inner resilience, perspective, and an appreciation for the resources you do have. Gratitude rewires the brain to scan for the positive, counteracting the victim's tendency to focus on the negative. Jung's central concept of individuation is exceptionally relevant here. Individuation, at its core, is the lifelong psychological journey of becoming your whole, unique, and authentic self. It involves differentiating yourself from collective societal expectations, from parental projections, from cultural norms, and from the constricting grip of unexamined archetypal patterns. It means courageously listening to and honoring your own inner voice, your deepest calling. For someone caught in the web of the victim pattern, individuation specifically means discovering and integrating their own intrinsic power, not power over others, which is often a distortion, but power from within. The power to live authentically, to make conscious choices, and to take responsibility for shaping their own meaning and destiny. Think of one small, specific area in your life right now where you feel a little stuck, a little powerless. It doesn't have to be a monumental problem. Now, ask yourself, what is one tiny, manageable step you could take today or this week? One small action that would feel like you are consciously taking charge, however modestly. Perhaps it's finally making that phone call you've been avoiding. Maybe it's clearly and calmly stating a boundary in a situation where you'd normally stay silent and resentful. Or perhaps it's dedicating just 15 minutes to starting that small personal project you've been endlessly putting off. These seemingly minor acts of courage are incredibly significant. They build psychological momentum. They send a powerful new message to your unconscious mind that you are capable, that you do have agency, that change is possible. Carl Jung profoundly noted, "Where your fear is, there is your task." This is a guiding principle for the journey out of victimhood. Moving beyond this archetype invariably means confronting your fears, often head-on. Fear of failure, fear of judgment from others, fear of success and its perceived burdens, fear of loneliness if you change, even fear of responsibility itself. But remember, on the other side of that fear lies your freedom, your growth, your expansion. It is, by its very nature, a path of courage. You are not being asked to abandon or annihilate a part of you that was perceived as weak. Rather, you are courageously reclaiming and reintegrating a part of you that has always been inherently strong, merely hidden or suppressed. Part 4. The Path to Empowerment. Practical Steps to Break Free. Understanding the victim archetype intellectually is the theory, the map. Living differently, embodying empowerment, is the practice, the journey itself. So, how do we actually walk this transformative path from a deeply ingrained sense of victimhood to a lived experience of genuine empowerment? It's about consistently and consciously creating new habits of thought, new emotional responses, new behavioral patterns, ultimately, new ways of being in and with the world. First, and foundational to all else, is the active cultivation of self-compassion. Breaking free from deeply entrenched, lifelong patterns is incredibly challenging work. You will inevitably stumble. You will have days where old thoughts, familiar anxieties, and victim-based narratives creep back in with surprising force. This is entirely normal and to be expected. The key is how you respond to these moments. Instead of berating yourself or seeing it as proof of your inherent failure, which is the voice of the victim, strive to treat yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that you would offer to a dear friend on a profoundly difficult journey. Remember, relentless self-blame and harsh self-criticism are primary tools of the victim archetype. Genuine self-compassion is a cornerstone of true empowerment. Second, consistently practice mindfulness. In its essence, mindfulness means learning to observe your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment and without automatically identifying with them or being swept away by them. Notice when the victim narrative, "It's not fair, I can't cope, nothing ever works out for me," starts playing in your head. Simply notice it, as you would notice a passing cloud in the sky. You don't have to believe every thought that arises. You certainly don't have to act on every emotion. Mindfulness creates a crucial pause, a vital space of awareness between the stimulus, the thought or feeling, and your habitual reaction. In that precious space lies your freedom to choose a different, more empowered response. There are many simple mindfulness exercises. Focus on your breath for a few minutes. Mindfully drink a cup of tea, or take a short walk, paying attention to the sensations in your body. Third, consciously develop your assertiveness skills. This means learning to express your needs, your opinions, your values, and your boundaries clearly, directly, and respectfully. Crucially, assertiveness is not about being aggressive, demanding, or hostile. It is about valuing yourself and your perspective enough to speak your truth in a way that also respects the truths of others. People who have been long identified with victim patterns often struggle immensely with assertiveness. They might deeply fear conflict, rejection, or being perceived as difficult. They may have internalized the belief that their needs and feelings don't truly matter as much as others. Assertiveness is a courageous declaration that you do matter, that your needs are valid, and that you have a right to be treated with respect. Start small. Practice saying no to a minor request without excessive apology, or express a differing opinion calmly in a low-stakes conversation. Fourth, actively learn to reframe your story. We all have narratives we tell ourselves about our lives, our past experiences, and who we are. The victim archetype consistently weaves a particular kind of story, one characterized by pervasive powerlessness, inescapable suffering, and fundamental unfairness. You have the power to learn to tell a different, more empowering story about the very same events. This isn't about denying or minimizing difficult experiences. It's about consciously changing your relationship to them and the meaning you derive from them. Instead of focusing solely on the pain and injustice, ask yourself, what did I learn from that challenge? How did I grow, even if it was painful at the time? What hidden strengths or unexpected resiliencies did I discover within myself? What values became clearer to me through that experience? This strengths-based reframing can profoundly shift your sense of identity from survivor of hardship to thriver because of challenges overcome. Fifth, consciously and courageously engage with your shadow. As Carl Jung so profoundly emphasized, true psychological wholeness, true individuation, comes not from striving for an imagined perfection or light, but from the difficult yet essential work of integrating our disowned shadow aspects. Ask yourself probing questions. What potential power have I disowned or projected onto others? What strengths or positive qualities, like assertiveness, ambition, healthy anger, vulnerability, am I secretly afraid to embrace or express because I've judged them as bad or unacceptable in myself or others? Often, what we most harshly judge or react to in other people is a disowned reflection of something within our own shadow. Journaling, introspection, working with a skilled Jungian therapist, or engaging in deep meditative practices can be invaluable tools for this profound exploration and integration. The goal is not to eliminate the shadow, but to understand its messages and reclaim the energy trapped within it. Sixth, consciously seek out and cultivate genuinely supportive connections. Make a conscious effort to move away from relationships that consistently reinforce the drama triangle, those that encourage your helplessness, endlessly rescue you without empowering you, or persistently cast you in the role of the victim. Instead, intentionally seek out and nurture relationships with people who see and affirm your strengths, who genuinely support your growth and autonomy, who challenge you constructively, and who encourage your journey toward empowerment. This might mean having difficult conversations to reset boundaries with some existing relationships, or even, in some cases, lovingly letting certain draining or unsupportive relationships go. Surround yourself with those who inspire you to become your best self. And finally, crucially, take action, consistently, persistently, even seemingly small, incremental actions, when repeated over time, create profound change. Choose one specific area where you want to feel more empowered. Set a small, tangible, achievable goal related to that area, and then take at least one concrete step towards it, however modest that step may seem. Each action, no matter how small, serves to rewire your brain. It builds new neural pathways that encode strength, agency, competence, and self-belief. These actions provide experiential proof to your psyche that you are not helpless, that you can influence your reality. Remember Jung's wisdom that true individuation, true transformation, doesn't just happen in the mind. It happens when you engage with the world, when you do things differently in real life. Breaking free from the victim archetype is not a one-time event, nor is it a linear process with a definitive endpoint. It is rather an ongoing journey of courageous self-discovery, increasing consciousness, and consistent, deliberate choice. It's about fundamentally shifting your orientation from a life that largely happens to you to a life that you actively, consciously, and joyfully co-create. This, at its very heart, is the profound invitation of Jung's psychology: to become more conscious, to strive for wholeness, to take up the pen and become the courageous author of your own unfolding story. Part 5. Living Authentically. The world awaits your true self. Host. Imagine, for a moment, a life where you genuinely feel capable, resourceful, and fundamentally at peace with yourself. A life where challenges are not viewed as yet another confirmation of your inherent misfortune, but rather as opportunities for growth, learning, and the demonstration of your inner strength. This isn't some utopian fantasy. It is the very real potential that opens up when you consciously release the constricting grip of the victim archetype and step into a more authentic way of being. When you step out of the victim narrative, your relationships inevitably transform. You no longer unconsciously seek out rescuers to enable your helplessness, nor do you inadvertently attract persecutors to validate your sense of being wronged. Instead, you begin to engage with others from a place of genuine equality, mutual respect, and authentic connection. You find you can set clear, healthy boundaries without debilitating guilt or fear of abandonment. You can offer compassionate support to others without losing yourself or becoming enmeshed in their dramas. Your connections become richer, deeper, more reciprocal, and infinitely more fulfilling. Perhaps most profoundly, your relationship with yourself undergoes a radical transformation. The harsh, relentless inner critic that constantly fueled the victim narrative begins to soften, its voice fading. It is gradually replaced by a more compassionate, encouraging, and self-accepting inner voice. You start to trust your own judgment, your intuition, your inner wisdom. You recognize and deeply own your inherent worth, a worth that is not conditional upon external achievements, approval, or circumstances. You are no longer primarily defined by past hurts, old labels, or external situations. Instead, you begin to define yourself by your core values, your conscious choices, your deliberate actions, and your evolving potential. This inner journey of empowerment also has a profound impact on your sense of meaning and purpose in life. The victim archetype often breeds a deep-seated feeling of hopelessness, apathy, and a pervasive sense that nothing you do truly matters or can make a difference. When you reclaim your personal power, you simultaneously reclaim your innate capacity to contribute, to create, and to make a meaningful impact. However you define that, your unique talents, your perspectives honed by experience, your very presence, these are valuable. You realize you can contribute to the world, to your community, to the lives of others, in ways that are uniquely yours. Carl Jung firmly believed that the journey of fulfilling our individual potential, of living in alignment with our deepest self, is absolutely essential for a truly meaningful and satisfying life. Living authentically, in the Jungian sense, means courageously embracing all parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the vulnerabilities, the successes and the so-called failures. It's about showing up in the world as you truly are, without pretense, without apology for your wholeness. It is about being real, not perfect. This undoubtedly takes immense courage, especially in a world that often pressures us to conform or present a flawless facade. But it is also deeply, profoundly liberating. It is the ultimate homecoming. Think for a moment of Carl Jung's own personal journey. He wasn't just an academic theorist. He courageously delved into the unplumbed depths of the human psyche, including his own. He faced his own formidable shadows, his own moments of crisis and disorientation, and he emerged with timeless wisdom that continues to guide and inspire millions around the globe. He powerfully demonstrated that the path to genuine wholeness, to a life of meaning, necessarily involves confronting the uncomfortable, embracing the totality of our being. His life and work seem to echo the sentiment, often attributed to him in spirit. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. This single idea perfectly captures the essence of breaking free from the victim script. This journey isn't about trying to erase your past or pretending that difficult, painful things don't happen or haven't happened. Life will always contain its share of challenges and suffering. It's about integrating those experiences, even the most painful ones, into a larger, richer, more empowering narrative. You become the alchemist of your own life experience, consciously working to transform the lead of past suffering, helplessness, and resentment into the gold of wisdom, strength, compassion, and purpose. As you continue on this path of reclaiming your power and living more authentically, please remember that you are not alone. This is a universal human endeavor, Many have walked this path before you, and many are walking it alongside you right now. The deep desire for freedom, for meaning, for authenticity, for conscious self-direction, this is a fundamental archetypal human longing. So, what is the world waiting for? What is your life waiting for? It's waiting for you, your true authentic self, unburdened by the heavy chains of old patterns, free from the disempowering script of victimhood, ready to engage fully, ready to create consciously, ready to love deeply, ready to live fully, with all your complexities and wonders. The journey from victim to the conscious creator of your life is perhaps the most profound and rewarding journey you can undertake. It is, in the truest sense, the journey home to yourself. Stay with this. Keep exploring. Your most authentic, empowered life is not just a distant dream. It is a present possibility, calling to you now.